I'm going to start that shir unusually because last week, like today, like yesterday, I lost my brother-in-law, David Zvi ben Elimelech, in Lakewood, New Jersey. And Baruch Hashem finished the shiva and came back. That's the reason I didn't give shir yesterday. I was flying back late. In this shir, I was always stressing. I've been stressing for the past, I don't know, 5 years I give this year. I've been stressing about one midah. And that midah, you know it. I can't stop talking about it. That a person is his mouth. Whatever the intake and the outtake. And that was the midah that was so mind-boggling about my brother-in-law, that he had a mouth that you would never hear him talking about someone else. And if someone would talk about someone else, he would change the subject. He would not stay. He was very adamant not to talk and not to say bad things. You would never hear a bad word or something negative through his mouth. Not only this, where I was shocked that his children took the midah. You can't get them to talk. They're not talkative. They don't talk. They're quiet. They'd rather. Unbelievable. And we are now arriving to the Parashas Re'eh and the Parashas, we had Parashas Ekev, but mamish, when the Ari HaKodesh talks about the Gilgulim, what we take, what we mesaken with the mouth and everything. I'm not going to talk, I'm not going to go into it because I went last year on that shir, but I'm going to touch what the Baal Shem says on here. It's amazing on this parasha. That shir, I wrote it there in their house. In the house of the Avelim, and I said that shir is this one and the one that I'm going to say on Shabbos. Both of them I wrote them there. Mina Shamayim, I was zoiche because I no sparim, nothing, and it's not easy to write with enough. It was not people. It was like Yotzei Mitzrayim coming to every day. But Baruch Hashem, we were zoiche to be able to have a shir, and I'm going to show you. The questions are very, very striking. Let's get into the shir, and I'm going to show you that midah again in this parasha, but a little bit differently than I usually show it. Let's go to the psukim shir. I'm not going to talk about the beginning now, but I'm sending it to you for Shabbos. It's a shir I gave on Tuesday already there. But I just want to show you, I'm going to touch a little bit just to give you also an outlook on what's going on. Moshe Rabbeinu is going to talk to the Bnei Israel, and he's going to tell them, he's going to talk to them with a midah of Anoichi. We know Anoichi is the Bina. Moshe Rabbeinu, what are you doing? You're the biggest Anav. Why do you say Anoichi? He says Re'eh, singular, Lifneichem, plural. You can't say 4 words, you already jump from singular to plural. We know there's something going on here. Now here, this Lifneichem, the Torah was not given before us. It was given to us. So what do you say here, Lifneichem? Not true. Because if you don't do good, you're going to pay the price. So you have no choice. Don't talk to me about Bechira. So it's not Lifneichem. Hayoim. Oh, only today. That's what you're saying, Moshe Rabbeinu. But I'm sorry, the Torah, we received it in the first year of Yetzias Mitzrayim, 40 years ago. In Bechukosai telechu. All this, what you're saying, Moshe Rabbeinu, is already written in Bechukosai. What are you hinting here when you're saying Hayoim? Why today? Beracha Klola. Es haberacha, when do you get the bracha? Asher tishmeu. I'm sorry. The mitzvahs are meant to be kept, not to be heard. Even Bnei Yisrael said, Naaseh v'nishma, im bechukosai te'elechu v'etz mitzvosai tishmeru v'asisem oisam. We have to keep them and accomplish them, but not to listen. So why is he listening? And when he listens, he says, if you listen, he says, Asher. If you don't listen, later he's going to say, Im. So say Im in both, or say Asher in both, but don't tell me Asher and Im. I mean, there's a lot of going on here that we have to understand what's going on in this parsha. We can see right away that Moshe Rabbeinu codified a message within the questions of this psukim. I'm going to jump to where I'm going to focus a little bit more. We all know the mitzvah of Aser Te'aser. We have to give the Ma'aser, repeat it twice. Everyone asks that question. We'll see. Rashi surprised us. We all expect it to be, the Ma'aser of who? The Ma'aser of the Ani, Ma'aser to the Levi. No, Rashi says Ma'aser Sheni, the one you give every Shemitah and you keep for yourself. What's so great about this? The Gemara says, Aser Kedesh, it is Asher. When you give the Ma'aser, this is a sgula to become rich. So maybe you should have said that about the Ma'aser Ani, when you give the Ma'aser to the Ani, twice every Shemitah. When you give the Ma'aser to the Levi, every year of the Shemitah. But to say it on the Ma'aser Sheni, where there's no anyone else benefiting from your money, and still the psukim are going to rave about that mitzvah. So what do you have to do? You have to do all your harvest. Kol tevuas zarecha. Kol tevuascha, we couldn't say no. Tevuas zarecha, from your zera, from your seeds. Whatever grew from your seed, you have to be ma'aser. The lashon here, you can see already the adverbs. Eis kol tevuas zarecha. Aser teaser. Okay, kol tevuascha. So you know Eis came to add you something, to hint you something. Zarecha. Look, hayoitze. Written without a vav. Hayoitze hasade. Why? Because it's going to come out somewhere else? Don't you know that the tvua is in the sade? Shana. This pasuk is striking. And you will have to eat in Yerushalayim, because Ma'aser Sheni has to be brought up to Yerushalayim, and you have to eat there. And the procession, how they used to come, it's described in Midrashim. They used to take the rich people, vessels. No, that was for the Bikurim. But here also, they had beautiful vessels. They used to come to Yerushalayim to be Meshabeach, the mitzvah. But it had to be eaten within the chomes of Yerushalayim. B'makom asher yivchar leshaken shemo isham, in the place where HaKadosh Baruch Hu reside, put his name there. Maser, we go back again. We said, Es kol tevua zarecha, but now we're going to say, Maser de ganecha, tiroishcha, veitzarecha, v'choreres bekarecha. Now he's going to enumerate, or maybe you should have said this before, and tevua zarecha afterward, if you want to enumerate everyone. But what's most striking is leman tilmad leira. So you will learn how. I don't want to use the word fear, because fear is pachad. I'm going to use the word respect, which is also incorrect, but it more the yira it's not a fear that comes out from something that you're afraid of. It's the fear when you realize how big HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, and He still loves us, and He gives us plenty, and the brachas, and Yeshuas, and everything, and still you're afraid to lose it. But you don't understand. Your mind boggle. I'm not so special that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is such a big Melech Malchei Amlachim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should look into me. That's so. First thought, the true fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu starts after love, not before love. That's why every time you're going to see in the Psukim, you're going to see Ahava. First, Avas Hashem comes. Once you have a true Avas Hashem, then you fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm going to eat there. We have mentioned many times that the Achila is dangerous. We know that Achila, if I take the word Achila equals 66, equals, correct, huh? 50, 60, 66. Equals the Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud with the Koil. That's what the Achila, it's a tikkun of the Shechina. Achila is not just eating for ourselves, enjoying. Every time we sit, so every time you're there, you're on vacation, you're in Yerushalayim, maybe you're not going to eat the right way, so why don't you take it into account this? No, the Pasuk says, I'm assured, Leman tilmad liyira. How are you going to get this Yerushalayim? It's such a deep subject. I'm going to study it. This Meiser, this Tzedakah, this Inyan. We spoke about Tzedakah many times. Today, I'm going to bring le halacha first. And this halacha will enable us to go very deep into the Inyan of this Meiser and understand how, indeed, everything that Moshe Rabbeinu tells us is indeed there. The Torah, I'm going to go directly to Allah. The Torah says in Hilches Tzedakah, the biggest shmooze you're going to hear in your life is, I always tell people, is in the Torah. If you see Manim, he goes ballistic. Like in Shavuos, in Siman Pezayin Cheshem Mishpat, in Siman Resh Mem Zayin Yeredeya. All you need is these tools, and you have the biggest shmuzim that you can have ever. We're going to see there is a machloikas in halacha as, is a person allowed to test HaKadosh Baruch Hu exclusively in Meiser, with the mitzvah of Meiser? Then I would argue it's not that fair, because we don't have Meiser Sheni anymore. So we don't have this capacity to test HaKadosh Baruch Hu if we give tzedakah. Because the Haftacha uvchanuni na, uvchanuf mifchan. Test me, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if I will not open the gates of heaven and it's going to pour down on you. Well, I'm sure in the last doer, where people have gone through a lot of tzaris, I think it would help more than one. So if tzedakah has the same qualification about this, it would be great. But we're going to see it's a machleket. The Torah is going to hold that it is Ma'aser Tzedakah is the same. And he stresses very much. A person has a chiyuv, though, a chiyuv tzedakah, to basically how much he can afford. He has to be honest with himself. This is where honesty, when you speak honest, when you speak good, automatically you have honesty toward yourself. If your mouth is misused for lies, chas v'shalom, for leitzanus, or for being dishonest with others, then you will be dishonest with you, and this mitzvah that person will never be able to accomplish it. Just to show you how much the pay has effect on the person. And he goes, ume'oid me'oid sarich lizaher. And you have to be extremely careful, more than any other mitzvah. Because on the mitzvah of tzedakah, if you refrain to give, you may cause death. As in the Gemara brought down. By the time it was an Amora, the ani knocked, and he didn't have what he needed, boom, he died. And it's brought down in the Torah. Lehalacha. And the Isur, the same way, the greatness of the mitzvah, the same way the greatness of the Isur to refrain from giving tzedakah, many lavim. And any person, and this part, the negative part, I'll keep it for Shabbos. I'll show you what the Zohar calls and how many dangers are to even befriend, talk with people that are stingy. It's a danger for health, for life. These people carry all the darkness possible. Look, it's not that you would think he has the bechira, so if he doesn't give, no. Because Abraham Avinu taught us to do chesed, and anyone who gives tzedakah is considered to be from the Zera Berach Hashem, the Zera that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has blessed Avram with. And any person who doesn't give tzedakah is considered of not being a son of Avram, and automatically he is the son of the curse. The Geula will come with tzedakah when we do chesed with others. The Chazon Ish was very well known to do tremendous chesed. People asked him, if you spend your time doing chesed, when do you have time to remember? How do you know all? He said, when a person does chesed, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does another chesed with him. He gives him zikaron to remember what he has learned. And that's the part of the segula, that because we can be everywhere. We human, we in the body, so we can be in one place at a time. But when you do chesed, don't you think that, remember, it says, Ashloisha devarim ha'olam oimed ala Torah first, ala avoida, val gemilus chasadim. So when you do your Torah and you do your avoida and you do gmilus chasadim, because we have to do gmilus chasadim, you're not losing at all, because gmilus chasadim, gematria Torah, gmilus chasadim equals 611, exactly like Torah, the words of the Chazon Ish. When you learn Torah and you want to do, because you're a son of Abraham, you from the Zera, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed, the lineage of Avram, then you will do also Gmilas Chasadim, and your Gmilas Chasadim is just as cherished by HaKadosh Baruch Hu as Torah. Comes the Torah with the Haftacha. He said, first of all the Karbanos, and I'm just laying little stones. I will connect them later and show you the greatness of all this. But remember these details. Like the Gemara brings down in Sukkah, Tzedakah is greater than all the Karbanos together. Brings the pasuk, I saw tzedakah, but I don't want to stay too much on the psukim. Time is always flying when we have an interesting subject. And a person is assured never to become poor from giving tzedakah. And nothing can occur to him bad if he gave tzedakah. The haftacha of tzedakah is way, way beyond any other mitzvah that we know. It's not a haftacha on a certain thing like every mitzvah, you light the Shechina on that end, so automatically that side of the Shechina will light upon you. No, it's going to be in general. It's the whole Shechina. We have to understand what's the side of its tzedakah. You understand that in Hebrew, we don't call it charity. We call it justice. Tzedakah is justice. When we hear that, we come back to the words of Moshe Rabbeinu, Im lo yisishmu, if you don't hear. No, I've just given you one of what Chazal are going to call the mitzvah that's keneged kol ha-Torah kula. When a person says, I cannot do 613 mitzvahs, I'm not Kohen, I'm not Levi, I'm on Yisrael, I'm not this. It's wrong. Because the mitzvah of tzedakah enables you to do this mitzvah. So the question now is someone that refuses or refrain from giving tzedakah, what's his din? I'm not talking about someone refraining from giving tzedakah because he doesn't have chas v'shalom. I'm not here to in that case. No, we're talking about a rich guy, a stingy guy that doesn't give tzedakah, and he can afford, and it's just stingy. I'll bring you a story today which is mind-boggling. So why is Moshe Rabbeinu is using, the Torah could have used any verb, but he used the word shmiya, to listen, to hear. To hear is not the most important. It's to do. We're in the Olam Asiyah here. In Olam HaBeriah, yes, shmiya, because the bina is there. Shmiya, we know it's the bina, but we're not there. So why isn't it saying vasisem or shmatem, as we asked before? The Sifri brings down that a person that's moide to Avodah Zarah is kofer bechol ha-Torah kula. There are two extremes. There are Torah or chas v'shalom Avodah Zarah. The one who believes the Torah is kofer in the Avodah Zarah. But he should not doubt even one little thing of the Torah. Otherwise, is considered kofer bechol ha-Torah kula. The Torah is not something you can believe partially or in general. No, it's all or nothing. And the person who is refraining from giving tzedakah while he has the means, he is considered Oved Avodah Zarah. This mitzvah of tzedakah has taken us to the extremes of the world. On one hand, it's the biggest mitzvah of the Torah. On the other hand, so you mekayem in some kind of fashion, all the 613 mitzvahs. On the other hand, it's Avodah Zarah. You kafir on the 613 mitzvahs. The pasuk says in Mishle say Shlomo HaMelech, I'm going to bring it because this is the first cornerstone I'm going to lay it on this building here. It's too big, this one. Let's go. Enter. It says, Vehaya Malse Hatzedaka Shalom. The Ma'aseh of Tzedakah is peace. Why peace? Because we understand when you misaken the Shechina, because now it's the Shechina, automatically it brings peace in Shamayim. Because Shalom is the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yud Kei Vav Kei multiplied in himself. Or with the 4 letters like Dari HaKadosh says, it's 380. And 380 is, is Yud Kei Vav Kei times Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. When you multiply Yud times Aleph, Hey times Dalet, first with first, second with second, equals 380. Like Shalom. So it means when you give tzedakah, you're creating a yichud in Shamayim between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shechina. Now, if you take Ma'aseh HaTzedakah, you realize it's 620. It's in the Keser. How many letters in the Aseres HaDibros that include the whole Torah? 620. Then we can verify the words of Chazal just here. Ma'aseh HaTzedakah Shalom. Before I forget, I'm going to give you just one little response on here. What is Asher Tishmu? Because we asking that question and you won't believe this. This equals 1,317. This equals to, Ishtoikikus. You expecting, you desiring, you are seeking the mitzvah. When it comes, you're not doing this. I said this in the husband of my brother-in-law. Everything, he came from Chicago. He didn't go to yeshiva, but he was on that shir. He was understanding. It shows you Torah he doesn't need a path. He needs to have everything he learned, he had to do it. But look what it is. When you get to that point that you're really loving the mitzvah, you're really seeking. Adam, Aryeh, Shoyer, Nesher, the Merkava of the Shechina. The 4 faces of the Merkava of the Shechina is Asher Tishmeu. Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't tell us, for sure we spoke about keeping the mitzvahs. Moshe Rabbeinu here tells us another yesod, that when I'm giving you the mitzvahs, listen well. I want you to hear them. I want you to seek them. Because when you do that mitzvah, it goes right away into the Merkava. This is how high you are. What happens right away? The Keser is shining. We know what happens. We've learned many times what happened when the Bina is shining, the Sukkah Shalom. We learned what happened with the Chochmah is shining. We have the Shemen HaTov Yered Al Hazakan. But now we're seeing that the Keser is shining with the Tzedakah. That's what we learn from the Torah. And I'm at the beginning of the Torah. I'm not done with him. That's now what happens when, let's analyze his words when he says im lo yishmu, when you're not listening. Now you understand also that it's answered why we changed the word here, im and asher, because the Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to hint us how high the mitzvah is going. Equals 888. Equals ma'avir al midoiso. Why are you not listening? What triggers you? What's the side when a person is not listening, when a person doesn't want to give, when a person is not seeking, he's not willing to go and seek the mitzvah, do it with happiness. What happened? Why? Because he has a rotten character. He's not ma'avir al midoiso. A person doesn't realize that when you don't have the trait of character that you should have, you're also not able to be mekayim the mitzvahs that go. You don't have the bridge. The bridge in order to be mekayim those mitzvahs is the what you do with yourself, how you work with yourself, how you sharpen your mitzvahs. That's the whole Tomer Devera from the Ramak. He explains you how to activate the Keser. That's how you activate the Keser. That's how you activate the Chochmah. Once the biggest bracha is when the Keser is shining. But now we see the side of the person here is when he has to be ready, and it's very simple if you explain it in this world. In worldly terms, you want a tea and you give me your hands, you're going to get burnt and you're going to open you're not going to have any liquid left to drink. But if you have a cup, what is a cup? A cup is a receptacle. You made yourself a receptacle for the bracha. You made yourself a receptacle for the oil. So you can grow. And you have to see how far a person can grow. It's amazing. It's amazing. You know, I remember when I met the first time I brought my brother-in-law of Hashem, he was like davening in called Sons of Israel in Lakewood, which is basically Young Israel type offshore. But afterward, you know, he had a chavrusa before Nates in yeshiva. In yeshiva, he was in yeshiva. Davening Nates in yeshiva, then go to work. Come back to work from work, and then go to work. I mean, why? Because, okay, he was not given the opportunity to know. But once he learned, he was listening. I'm keeping on here with the Torah. He brings the pasuk. Ashrei maskil eldal. David HaMelech says in Tehillim, praise be the one maskil. So the Midrash Rabbah in Vayikra Rabbah asks, what is maskil? So one opinion is Rabbeinu Yoina. He says, look, it doesn't say you praise the one who gives to the poor. It doesn't say who gives tzedakah. It doesn't say that in the pasuk. It says ashrei maskil. So he translates maskil to the lashon histakel, to see. So he praises the one that sees. What he sees, explains Rabbeinu Yoina, when you see a businessman, unfortunately, the galgal, the wheel of fortune just turned on him. You need to go. He says he used to go, and he used to tell him, look, I've heard that you're going to receive a Yerusha from somewhere. In the meantime, take this amount as a loan, and you return it to me. And once he was, so the guy would accept because he was very shy to accept tzedakah. So when he was receiving it, he says, by the way, I'm giving it to you in matana. In order not to make him feel bad, to make him feel that he was receiving tzedakah. In the Midrash Tehillim, he says, he brings Rabbeinu Yoina and says a little bit different. He says, maskil, okay, to see, it means think. How, what way can you use in order to support him? Every ani, you have to give him the respect and not give him tzedakah in a manner that could be, insulting him. You have to give it to him in a manner that is respectful. And that's the inyan here. So, maskil could be either from the word to see, or it could be from the word seichel, think. Before you approach the ani, in other words, the halacha. If the ani makes you melt down because it's a terrible situation, and you go because of your emotions, you lost the mitzvah. The mitzvah only applies if you can put your emotions aside and you do it for the mitzvah. Because if you do it for your emotions, your schar is you give money to the ani, you feel better, right? That's your schar. So you don't want to do it for this, you want to do it for the real reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu ordered us to support one another. That's the reason you want to do it. The Gemara in Kiddushin, Mem Amud Aleph, brings two stories. What happens when we don't do that? We're not masculine. We don't take seichel. You're going to have people that absolutely not going to go. For them, death is much sweeter than go beg. Rav Kahana, Shikta, she asked him to be choite with her. So, because he was working in things for women, so he was selling. He says, okay, but prepare me something to eat first because I'm very hungry. So she was a rich woman. So when we say matronisa, is also a very rich woman because Rav Kahana was beautiful. And this going, when it serves the purpose, they use a Jew. So she lit up the oven. She said, I have nothing kosher. He said, doesn't matter, put something treif. When she turned on the oven, he went and he entered the oven. She says, what are you doing? He says, look, this fire will burn once. But the fire of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is for eternity. She apologized. She said, if I had known that I would be mitzvah you so much, I would have never asked you. She let him go. Rav Kahana. Why? Because he was poor. Then the Gemara brings it was Rabacha, sorry. Rav Kahana, that's the story of Rav Kahana. He was selling these, how do we say salim in English? The baskets made out of leaves of palm trees to women because it was very poor. One woman, a rich woman, also asked him. So he told her, let me go arrange myself, and I'll come back. He went because the Sultan took him. He went on top of the roof and he jumped. He said, I better die rather than be choited to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Eliyahu Navi came and caught him in the middle. He says, you have to know, Ravacha. They said to you in Shamayim, they ordered me. I was 400 parsas away, and you were matriach me to come and save you. I was ordered by HaKadosh Baruch Hu to come and save you. So he says, what did you do that? He says, what do you mean what I did that? Look what the Aeneas did to me. I have to work and face women, and now look what happened. So and Yanavi took a pouch full of dinarim and gave it to him. We see that we do not know the character of every person, and it's not up to us to judge. The Torah just gave us an outlook of what happens to the biggest Gdolim, the Amoiraim, the Kdoshe Elyon, because they don't want to go ask for tzedakah. They endanger themselves. We don't know that the ani is not going to fall for it. I can tell you by experience, in Beis Din today, how many times I see, not I saw, I see, present. When the husband refuses to give her the get after the civil marriage, it was already, the divorce was done in court and everything, and it's still a chayra, and it doesn't give the get. How many women fall because they have no way, because these Reshaim don't also give support. They find ways, and they endanger themselves sometimes, but they don't care. They want to make her suffer. For the children, they don't even give child support. And she has no food to put on the table for the children. What is she doing? Yeah, what you're imagining, it's correct. Some even go and marry another man. And she's an Eshes, and she knows. She comes from a frum family. But she tells you, Rabbi, what can I do? What can I do? She says, I need to feed my children, the young children. 3, 4, 2, what do you do when you're a woman? You can't see your children not eating, not having food. Well, she does what she can. I don't say it's correct, but I say it's heartbreaking. And the Rishaim that brought them there, pushed them over the cliff. The din b'cheshbon that they're gonna have is tremendous. So the Torah keeps on and says that if a person thinks, after what I told you already, that it says you're never going to have a loss from tzedakah, but if a person says, how can I give from my money? I work so hard for it, I just made the last dollar to have $1 million. I don't want to break it. He has to know money is a pikadon. Money is not a matana that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives. Money is a pikadon that's given to people. Remember the Zohar? When the Asher in Vayera Kuf Dalet, when the Asher has a gzera on him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends him an ani, right? We said it last week. He sends him an ani. Why? Because the ani, tzedakah tatzim mimaves, so the ani takes away the gzera from the Asher. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there are many reasons. We says in Parashas Mishpatim that when Asher gave money without the proper intent, is coming back as an ani. Why? Because what is the ani thinking all the time? Please Hashem, give me a lot of money, make me gain the Powerball, so I'm going to give a lot of tzedakah. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes that machshava and adds it to one time in the previous Gilgul he has given money. Now one is complete. He made the gesture. Now he has the right intent. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes one. So obviously the ani is going to remain ani. And he has to think that way because he's mesaken in the previous Gilgul. All the time he gave tzedakah as a asher and without a proper intent, or with the intent to benefit him, to be, oh, look at this guy, he's a big macher in shul, he's a big thing here. Oy vey, those who give money like this, they're going to come back as aniyim. And the Torah here ends up by saying, look, you can see the greatness of this mitzvah from what HaKadosh Baruch Hu enabled us to do with him. In no mitzvah in the Torah we are allowed to test HaKadosh Baruch Hu on the schar. But on this mitzvah, you are allowed. Some Mefarshim there, the Prisha wants to explain that it's not really why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so he says it's Beshem the Mahashal, why HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed us to test him on this mitzvah. It's because the schar of the tzedakah is already written in the Torah. So it's not truly a full test, it's a partial test. So, but the Beis Yosef is choilek, and he says, no, tzedakah is tzedakah, ma'aser is ma'aser. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed us to test him is only for ma'aser. Begs the question. Again, tzedakah, can understand. You take some of your possessions and you give it to someone else. You're doing true chesed to another person. You resemble somehow a little bit HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu keeps on giving us life and everything we need. So what did you do? You, in a smaller portion, you took some of your stuff, your possessions, and you gave them to someone who didn't have the means to live. And you enable him to carry on living. You know, this part I can understand. But Ma'aser Sheni, when you keep everything for yourself, and according to the Beis Yosef, it's bigger than tzedakah. When you keep it for yourself, you just go to Yerushalayim. What's the side of this Ma'aser that tzedakah brings wealth, like the Torah explained? I accept it. But that Ma'aser Sheni brings wealth, but not tzedakah. The wealth promised is the Bar Ma'aser Sheni. What is so special about this Ma'aser Sheni that can guarantee wealth to a person? And I don't have Ma'aser Sheni today. Does it mean that there's nothing we can do that can replace it? Because then the bracha was only for the previous generations. We have nothing today. The Rama went like the Torah, and he said that the tzedakah also makes a person rich. And only in tzedakah, so he learns the Ma'aser as tzedakah. But Rashi said it's Ma'aser Sheni, and we're going to prove it. If you take the word, I don't remember, so it's 470, 670, 670, 970. Okay, Teaser equals Ma'aser Sheni. What Rashi said, it's in the words. Why did we repeat Aser, Teaser, to tell you which Ma'aser we're talking about? There's no discussion here that Rashi you know, the touch of Rashi is 100% correct. There's no question about it. You can see it. Why do we repeat Aser te Aser? Aser kedeshet is Asher. Yes, that's the Haftacha. But the repetition is to tell you which Meiser it is. Te Aser, 970, Meiser Sheni. Bingo. You don't have to look very far for Gematria. Look at Rashi, and you know that his touch is exactly you're going to find but the truth, the Rama doesn't pass and he brings two shitas. He means himself, he was like the question here is when I do a mitzvah, because we have to answer that question we asked on the Beis Yosef. When you do a mitzvah, and that mitzvah has kind of a personal, I don't want to call it benefit, but aspect. I'm going to remain neutral. In other words, you're not doing this for the mitzvah, you're doing it for a purpose because you're looking for something. Someone is sick, you take tzedakah and you give it for the purpose of that person, the schus that person, that he should heal because of this ma'aseh tzedakah. Is it called tzedakah? A person gives tzedakah, so his son should become a tzaddik. Someone gives tzedakah for aliyas neshama. You can see there's a personal interest here. Is that considered a diminished tzedakah, a full tzedakah? What is it considered this? The Gemara says in Psachim, Petes, I think it's Amud Aleph, that Tzaddik Gamor. Wow. You're doing the mitzvah. You understand you're doing the mitzvah, but you're doing the mitzvah for a personal reason. You're still a Tzaddik Gamor. It's going to have Olam Haba, full Olam Haba on his mitzvah. But it says that you should not, on every mitzvah, the Mishnah in Avos, don't be like those servants that serve their master in order to get a reward, but you should serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but not for a reward. And here you're expecting a reward. How does it work? Explain the Gemara there that that's not the touch in the Mishnah. The touch in the Mishnah is when someone gives tzedakah to the benefit of a choyle, and this choyle didn't heal. And if this person at this point regrets giving tzedakah, that a person that shows that he was only giving for the reward. But when that person doesn't regret and he knows the mitzvah has achieved its goal, but not every time HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows us his ways, and you're not regretting the mitzvah, this is a tzaddik gamor. That's how now, I'm going to stop with halach. But the words, they have a depth. The words of the Torah here, which is tremendous. Just don't have the time to go over everything, but the depth of Reb Shimshon Mostropoli, Hashem Yikam Damoi, explains something very deep. And I'm going to explain it to you directly by writing it. Sure. If we take the word, it says, if we take the word Meiser equals 610, it says, what does it mean? It means this name, which is one of the 72 names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In the Shema Mefoirash, I told you many times that it's written in Vehaya and it's written in Vayomer. On the Shema, the first 72 words of Vehaya refer to these names. So when the HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to create at the beginning of a creation, Adam Arishon, and the Malachim, as you know the story from the Midrash, came and told, oh, he's going to sin and it's not Kedai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took this name, and with this, he pushed them back. That's what Reb Shimshon Moshe says. Now, what does he mean? You look in here, and you have something you're much more familiar with, and I'm going to take you through that road to explain the depth of what he meant. The esrog. We know that Yud, we have 4 meaning that we take in Sukkot. There are 4 letters in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If my memory doesn't fail me here, Yud for Arava, Hey for Hadas, Vav for Lulav, Hey the esrog, the Malchus, esrog. Okay, now Tzedakah, esrog. We all talking about the Malchus. The esrog Shimshon Mostropoli brings this down also. Is this tree when it has big leaves? It's the tree from where Adam and Chava took the leaves. It says in the pasuk, Al tevo'eni regel gava veyad reshaim al tenideim. Al tevo'eni regel gava. Shouldn't come to me a foot that had gaiva. Why? When a person cannot make a chet if he has another, because he's understanding is nothing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ordered us to do certain things, so you would not come to sin. It's only through gaiva. So v'yad reshaim al tenidei. They should not shake me, the hand of reshaim. He said this about Adam and Chava when they extended their hands to take leaves. And if you look at the first letters, Al tevo'eni regel gaiva v'yad esrog. Whatever Chazal say, you'll find it. Rashi Tevois, Sefer Tevois, Gematrias. I didn't want to break my head on more Gematrias here, but I'm sure I would find it also this number 610. But what's important to learn here from, okay, yes, we said it's the Yud Ke Vav Ke, it's everything. I'm coming in a second. I'm just going to open up a little introduction to another point in order to explain you this whole thing and finish with the tzedakah side. Shlomo HaMelech said that there is a bad in this world under the sun, that wealth is kept for its true owner. In other words, the person that has money today doesn't mean it's his money. It doesn't mean he's the last destination. He could be just a station on the road. And that's not the final destination. The final destination, so when a person is refraining himself from giving tzedakah, automatically he's coming under this pasuk, and the money will leave that person who owns it, and he will go to someone else. And it's a clear midrash tanchuma in Parashas Shoftim that there's not a person HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not testing. The midrash says the person, the usher is tested through money, which is much harder than the test of the ani. But still, if he doesn't pass the test, the usher, he has one punishment. And this punishment is he's going to lose it all. He's going to lose it all. And it's going to go to the person that deserves to have that money. And that's how we see changes of fortune, Chaz v'shalom, in this world. That's the hardest part. If someone is born ani and remains ani, it's one thing. But if someone is born asher and he becomes ani, this is much worse. This is the worst of all the aniim. And says the Tanchuma in Parshas Rei, in our Parsha, you want to understand what's the pshat here and the proof. It says, Aser te'aser eskol tevu azarecha hayoytze hasade. You know, we're missing a vav, right? Now you look in Esav in Parshas Toldos, who's the yoytze hasade? It's Esav. Not only you will lose the money, but you will fall in the hand of Esau, meaning you will fall into the chesed. We see now that tzedakah is, on one hand, it's a huge refuah. On the other hand, the one who doesn't accomplish it, doesn't give what he's supposed to give, there's a big onus. Whenever you see that, it's called, in Kabbalah, negoif, and refoi. Like it happened in Mitzrayim. Detzach Adash Be'achav, they came out of Mitzrayim with his name, and they got into Mitzrayim with the same name. They do it, they accomplish it, then fine, they're not. And here, every time we say this, there's a sod in this. Because this equals 414. Equals Oyer and Sof. From the Keser. On the other hand, equals Ketzef Af Chema. Remember the three angels going to the person in the caver, and oivei on these three when they go down to the caver, what they do to the person. If they go, that person doesn't remember his name. So the one who gives tzedakah has the keser, the oir and soif that shines on him. The one, if he doesn't give tzedakah, he has these klippos that are going to accompany him all the way till the end, and the revenge from him in the caver. Now, I'm going back to Reb Shimshon Mostropoli. I told you in Vehaya, and you're going to understand why this is going to seal the whole Inyan. In Vehaya, the 72 words, if you take the word corresponding to this Shem that we mentioned above, this one here, is the word Veosafta. On Veosafta is if you look in Vayomer, the word corresponding to the Shem is Tzitzis. These are the two words that correspond to the Shem, depending if you look at it in Veosafta, meaning it's two facets of the name. This equals to 1,137. Equals Torah Tefillah. A person can reach it also through davening properly, and learning Torah properly. That's, but it's equal also to the Midas. That's mostly what I'm trying to get here. Basranus and Bitachon. The words of the Vilna Gaon. No, it was not last week. It was 2 weeks ago. I was not here last week. Sorry. I said last week. In other words, a person has to be Maivi al Midoisav in order to learn Vasranus, to be a Vasran, to let go. Understand that there's nothing, En Adam Neikef, Etzbaya Cotton, a person doesn't get even the slightest cut, Makkah. Neukef means you're getting a scratch on the smallest finger, unless HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided so. What does it mean, you're getting a scratch? Doesn't mean you wound yourself. I mean, you don't get any attack unless HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided so. So this Vasranus Bitachen is a one meter, really. A person has to know that taking it to the Russia that did that to you is not really the way out. The way out is understanding that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is talking to you and you have to do a certain tshuva, and that's the part that you have to do from yourself. In other words, the ani comes to your house. Be smart. Even if I had not mentioned it from the Zohar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling you there's a kitrug on you in Shamayim. There's an ani that comes, help him. I'm not talking about today the factory that you see guys interesting, they're here the whole year, or I don't know their lives. I don't know anything about them. I don't want to talk, but you know something. You're not talking about an ani. You're talking about someone that has a few bad habits and he has to keep them going. That's not an ani. That's feeding a fire, and the wrong fire. And this is not a mitzvah. I'm talking about the real, in your community, families and everything that unfortunately, things have happened, and the wheel of the fortune, turned on them and everything. It's a huge mitzvah to go out of your way and find ways to help these people. In this week Parsha, the Ari HaKadosh says, I'm going to close on this. The Ari HaKadosh says that, like the Gemara in Psachim, that Amar should not eat meat during the week because he's incapable of being misaken the gilgul that's in the meat. And therefore he should not eat. But a Talmid Chacham, every time you have meat in front of you, you have to understand, you have to have bitachon, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it because there's a tikkun that only you can do. But for Talmid Chacham, he can have, the basar taiva, basar taiva, what it means, just wanting to make a barbecue was also in the meat bar. Was only the basar that we're eating in the karbanis. But as soon as they entered Eretz Yisrael, they were allowed to shech, just to eat meat. Bechol avas nafshecha teichal basar, you can eat meat just in any shape or fashion you want. Look at this, and it's going to reach also our tzedakah, and that's it for Be'ez Hashem for today. If you say toichal bechol avas nafshecha toichal basar, this equals to 960. The two mothers of the Shin Dalet are these two, because they're the head of the clippers. The two women of the sun, each one with a kernel, equals toichal basar. When a person eats meat, a person doesn't realize this insignificant things that we do without thinking, because we don't know the depth of everything we put in our mouth. I would say the mouth, as soon as it comes into play, we have to be very careful, whether it's intake, whether it's to speak. Because a person that start eating meat like the barbecue and all leitzanos or all thing, they have these two nechashim, they have the right to take that person. When we say, every time we say in the Gemara masnisin, why do we say masnisin? Because when we say this, when we start learning from the Mishnah, equals 960. But I've put it here. Because we cannot learn Torah when these two, the Eshes Enunim, they're the one that triggers the person to make Yisurim. So Masnisin equals the same thing. We ban them. That's why we always start with this. Says the Baal Shem. It says in the pasuk, "Re'evim gam tzemeim nafsham bahem tis'atav." Say David HaMelech, the one that are hungry and the one that are thirsty, in them the nefesh will surround itself. Or tis'atav is like wearing a coat, like we'll wear them. What is atav? What are you wearing? Says the Baal Shem. Do you think you are hungry because you didn't eat? Do you think you are thirsty because you didn't drink? No. If at this moment you are hungry and there's that food and you want to eat it, you have to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling you there is in here a gilgul that you can be mesaken. And same thing, when you drink, there is something here that you can be mesaken. It used to be, it was a neshama that was punished, and it came out, tis'ataf, that you wear, equals 960. Now, if you take we said te'aser, the ma'aser sheni, te'aser equals 972 equals 72 equals Zay, Li, and Machlo. The mitzvah of tzedakah, the mitzvah of doing the ma'aser, is not how we read it in this world. That hey, give money, didn't get, no, HaKadosh Baruch Hu judges on the kavana. Once you take from your possessions, and you're going to bring it to Yerushalayim. So you're going to trouble yourself, go from your house, travel to Yerushalayim, and stay in Yerushalayim until you finish your Ma'aser Sheni. The act itself shows that you believe in the mitzvah. You are doing correctly the mitzvah. You are a person that love Hashem, because otherwise you wouldn't do the mitzvah that well. You can come to fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Again, not to fear, but to get this level of yira. If you take aser to aser, first of all, I could have put here also, you know, the klala of the Nachash, Arurata Minha Adama. So, I mean, everything bad, you see them. When you take aser to aser, equals 1,540, and that's the last one. If I take the word Yisrael, Yud, Shin, Resh, Aleph, Lamed, right? But the Aleph, I don't say Aleph, I say Elef. I calculate it as 1,000. It's equal. You want to be a Ben Yisrael. You want to be a Yisrael. You want to be the son of Yaakov Avinu. You want to participate in the Geula Shlema. Aser, but also Teaser. Means do the act with intent. Do the act that you do it correctly. That's Teaser. That's why Rashi, only the Ma'aser Sheni, because we don't look at how much you give. It's not the importance to the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the fashion that you have done this act. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Amen v'Amen. Should be a big schools for all the neshamas that we're davening for. And oh, I'm sorry, I'm not showing you. I'm not sharing. Oh, yeah, I was not sharing. You didn't see the last part. I'm just going to...
The last 5 minutes you didn't see.
I didn't share it with you guys. So I don't know. Teichal Basar here, you know, that's what I wrote. Teaser, Zililis, Machlas, and Aser, Teaser. If you take Yisrael with the Aleph, you know, as 1,000, it's 1,540. Exactly. So the intent makes you a Yisrael, not the Ma'aseh itself. That's why it says Tishmeu on this. Because in here, it's not the Ma'aseh that is going to define you. It's the intent. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Amen v'Amen.